What up, guys? That Comic Awesome here, doing another review, doing Daredevil 600. Man, and this is 100% worth a landmark issue and a landmark price. It's good. It's good. Go, like, if you have not read a Daredevil book in a long time because you've been worried. One, Charles Soule has been killing it ever since the Legacy cutover and this Mayor Fisk storyline. It's been great, and this is no exception. This is a really good book. So the story thus far, Matt Murdock and many of New York, superheroes, vigilantes, are kind of rubbed the wrong way because Wilson Fisk is now mayor of New York. Understandably so. He was a kingpin. He, for the longest time, was their enemy. And as his first order of business, pretty much made superheroes illegal in New York. That being said, that's only ever really addressed in this Daredevil run, and it's mentioned in Spider-Man like once or twice. I think it was like in the annual. But other than that, now it might have. I don't read the Defenders, so it could be brought up there. But it's mainly the plot point of Daredevil that superheroes are illegal. Now his reasoning for that is sound, and to me, I would think pretty just. He's like, look, it's up to the police officers, the men and women who serve, as police. It's my job as mayor to equip them to be able to handle crime within the city. We shouldn't have to rely on these vigilantes to do that. So it's very true. He's like, if you're running around in mask, you're considered a criminal. You're not needed. And especially Daredevil has a lot of heartburn, and there is a really good dialogue between Daredevil and Kingpin that I think perfectly sums up America right now. And yeah, let's just jump in. And that's what I like about this too. It perfectly sums up one, how blind and like narrow viewed SJWs are in this world, and how they don't see the bigger picture of like what's going on. So let's jump in. So I had one issue. There's like, I'll nitpick, but like one of the things is I was like, here's your catch up. The title is Daredevil. So the first sentence, Wilson Fisk. The second sentence, Muse and Sam Chung, aka Blind Spot. Now on the third paragraph here, the third sentence, meanwhile, Wilson Fisk made Matt Murdock, and it's like, so you're bumped down to like third importance. You're Daredevil, but you've been bumped down to third importance in this catch up. Again, I'm a nitpick. It's not really that big of a deal. But so as mayor, Wilson Fisk has kind of had this plot that Matt Murdock has been eavesdropping on as deputy mayor. Throughout the day, Matt just sits and listens to Fisk while he can, to try and figure out what his end game is. Why is he has to be up to something. That's Matt's thing. He has to be up to something. He's Wilson Fisk. He has to be up to something. So he hears bits and pieces of this plan, and he notices Wesley going out and meeting various crime bosses throughout the city. And Wesley is telling these crime bosses, hey, look, Wilson Fisk wants you in his cabinet. He's going to kind of split up the city amongst you and the other crime bosses. Let's go ahead and meet, and he'll discuss this before his big rally. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems suspicious. But obviously Matt is so blind to his own hatred of of Wilson Fisk that he's too close to the picture. Like, he's zoomed in, like that's all he sees. He doesn't get the big, broad view of it. And so he assembles a team. The crime bosses are meeting, and like they're like, look, we can just go in and bust him up. He's like, no, we got to do this right. We have to, we have to get evidence that Fisk is going to meet with these crime bosses and there's something illegal. He's like, once we do that, I can take it to the governor and we can get him impeached. So then there's kind of another side plot where Muse and Blind Spot are fighting. And I kind of like this. Like, it goes back to that they're almost like one and the same. They kill for, because they have to, But, so all the crime bosses are meeting. You have Felicia Harding, Hammerhead, Owling, the Owl. So they're all meeting at this restaurant. And what I like is all of the other criminals finally start to wise up. And they're like, look, this sounds like a setup. So the criminals already catch on that this could be a setup. Fisk probably brought us all here so we'd kill each other, and then he'd have the whole city to himself. Which, very plausible. So then they, of course, the heroes that are monitoring this are like, look, it's getting pretty tense in there, so they have to intervene. So all the heroes come in, guns go blazing. Meanwhile, Daredevil's like, damn it, like, this isn't what I wanted. The cops are already here, which, of course, as soon as the cops show up, it was all a setup the whole time. And then you think about it, you're like, Fisk didn't want to carve up the city, for these crime lords. He wanted them all in one spot so he could have them arrested. And you're like, oh, man, that's really good. I mean, it's kind of like the Doctor Doom, being Iron Man. It's like a villain or a hero that used to be a villain. I'm not saying Kingpin is a hero by any means, but a hero who used to be a villain knows all the villainy tricks and stuff like that. So what does he do? He uses their greed and stuff and brings the cops in and gets them arrested. But meanwhile, of course, all of the heroes that are in there as well get arrested as well. So I'm not going to go too far into I'm not going to go much further because I want to stop at the staple, because there is a big twist and the last half of this comic is amazing. So here you have pretty much Kingpin talking about this. He's about to go to a rally, and again, look, everybody in New York loves Mayor Fisk. He's cleaning up the city. Look at this diverse crowd. You have men and women and people of all colors, kind of like, yeah, Wilson Fisk, like New York. He's like, Wesley, how did it go? He's like, we got all 4, crime lords and a lot of their soldiers too. And as a benefit, we got a bunch of vigilantes. And I like this where, he's talking about them. And he's like, there were heroes there too. Jessica Jones, Danny Rand, Maya Lopez, Luke Cage, Misty Knight, and Mark Spector, even Spider-Man. And so he says, Spider-Man, and what's his name? Who is he? And he's like, we don't know. Just before the cops grabbed him, he sprayed webbing around his neck and sealed it up tight like glue. So I like how it's like, Spider-Man was captured, but he still figured out a way to hide his identity. But, and Fisk's just like, typical. He's like, whatever, that webbing won't last forever, and we'll cut the mask off if we have to. So he's like, what about Daredevil? And he's like, Daredevil wasn't there. He's like, all right, well, come along, because he knows Daredevil's going to be waiting for him. And this epic conversation happens where Fisk is pretty much like, look, I just took down 4 crime lords, and he says it right here. He's like, if my name weren't Wilson Fisk, you wouldn't bat an eye. You'd be cheering that the mayor had found a way to get Owlsley and the others off the streets. He's like, but you are Fisk. You are the Kingpin. You are the enemy everything that matters to this city. And this is the SJW point of view. This is, again, Matt Murdock is so fixated that he hates Wilson Fisk, Donald Trump, that And he's sitting here, and it's like, again, replace this with Trump. He's like, if it were anybody else, if anybody else had done what I am doing, you'd be cheering. But because it's my name, you can't handle the fact that I'm doing good for this city. And so, of course, they fight, and Daredevil's like, look, I'm not going to fight you because you're going to, I'm not going to give you any, like, bruises that you can say that you were assaulted or whatever. So then he's like, look, you've already lost, oh yeah, where is it? He said, you poor idiot, don't you see you've already lost? We're not even playing the same game anymore. I run a city of 8 million people, and you're just so small time. So it's like, again, your view is so narrow that you can't see the broader picture of 8 million people that I am trying to help. And then, of course, so then, he tries to, like, hit himself with the hammer to, again, give probable cause. Daredevil stops him, and he's like, I'm not going to lay a finger on you. He's like, true. So then he just beats the crap out of him, and he's like, the only hero the city needs is its king. Which, again, I completely agree with. So the next I want to, just show right here where he's like, I love you, New York. He's like, look at this, they're eating it up. He's like, well, why wouldn't he? He does love New York. He's like, more than anyone I've ever met. So, and then he goes into this rally and he talks about, like, cleaning up the criminals and stuff like that. It's amazing. Again, a really well told story. And the next page, there is a lot of spoiler stuff, which I'm going to skip, but I want to go to the end. Not the end of this book. So there's a little kind of side story like they did with Spectacular Spider-Man number 3. It's almost like a little side story of Foggy Nelson. And so, like, you have Foggy helping this guy who just got mugged to get to the hospital, and this guy's like, whoa, do you know Daredevil? Like, he talked to you like he knew you. And then it kind of goes through kind of their backstory of, like, meeting and all the stuff that Foggy's had to kind of do throughout the years and be there for Matt, and, having to, like, take him to the hospital and, be with him in the hospital, and kind of all the goofy stuff, and, like, yelling at him for being Daredevil. And he's like, me, I'm just a guy, no one's special. But it's like, and they also serve, which is kind of, again, pretty neat. It's like every hero kind of needs their, not a sidekick, but a friend. Buy it. It's so good. Move the needle on this. This is such a great story and good comic. Well worth the high price point, because it is thick. Again, I only went through about half of it. So, but yeah. Get this. Subscribe over here. Watch some more videos. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll see you next time.